Let me start with a simple truth. You cannot escape the price of delay. Whether it's in your health, your wealth, your relationships, or your goals, delay has a cost. And the sooner we understand that, the sooner we begin to live with urgency. You see, procrastination isn't just a habit. It's a silent thief. It doesn't break in with alarms. It shows up in disguise. It whispers, "A later is fine." But later often becomes never. The question is not, do you want to stop procrastinating? The real question is, are you ready to stop lying to yourself? The calendar doesn't wait. The clock doesn't hesitate, but people do. Why? Because we think we have time. But let me give you a new philosophy. You don't manage time. You manage decisions. Most people don't procrastinate because they're lazy. They procrastinate because they're unsure. They don't have a crystal clear picture of what they want, so they hesitate. And hesitation over time becomes paralysis. You see, it's hard to hit a target when you're not sure what the target is. If the goal is fuzzy, the action will be foggy. That's why the very first antidote to procrastination is clarity. Not just general clarity, sharp, precise, laser-like clarity. If someone asks you what you want, and your answer takes more than 5 seconds, that's a sign. You've got to refine your vision. Goals that are unclear invite procrastination because your mind doesn't know where to begin. You say things like, "I want to be successful," or "I want to get fit," but what does that mean? Success in what? Fit in what way? Be specific. Say, "I want to earn an extra $2,000 a month through consulting by September," or "I want to lose 12 pounds by the end of the quarter through 5 weekly workouts." Now the mind can work. Now action has a place to land. Clarity is more than just knowing what you want. It's knowing why you want it. Purpose drives persistence. Without purpose, even clear goals feel empty. Why do you want to write that book? Why do you want to grow that business? The why fuels the how. A strong reason gets you up in the morning and keeps you from delaying. If the reason is weak, the effort will be weak. And when the effort is weak, procrastination finds a door. Now, most people think procrastination is a matter of discipline. And yes, discipline is important, but discipline works best when it has a direction. Trying to be disciplined without clarity is like rowing a boat without a compass. You'll be working hard, but you won't know if you're going in the right direction or if you're moving at all. That's exhausting. And when people get exhausted, what do? They retreat, they delay. They convince themselves to wait. Let me give you a personal philosophy. Never begin your day until you've finished it on paper. That means you take a moment to design your day with intention. You write down your priorities, your top tasks, your most important goals. If your day starts without a plan, you'll spend your hours reacting instead of acting. And when you live in reaction, procrastination sneaks in like a thief. But if you live with intention, you guard your time like gold. Clarity also clears away distractions. When you know what matters, it becomes easier to say a no to what doesn't. A lack of clarity makes everything look important. You waste time on low-impact tasks. But once your vision is clear, you can filter out the noise. You can stop chasing every shiny object and start focusing on the few things that move you forward. And when your focus tightens, your speed increases. One reason people delay is because they're chasing too many things. They're busy but not productive. Clarity helps you cut through the clutter. It forces you to make decisions. What matters most today? What can wait? What deserves your energy? And what deserves a firm no thank you? Without clarity, you'll say a yes to the wrong things and a later to the right ones. That's a formula for regret. So if you want to stop procrastinating, begin by getting brutally honest with yourself. What do you really want? Why do you want it? And what are you willing to do to get it? Don't settle for generalities. Put it in writing. Paint the picture. Define the target. Because once the target is clear, your mind starts finding ways to hit it. And once you're in motion, procrastination doesn't stand a chance. One of the great misunderstandings in life is this idea that action should wait until inspiration shows up. People say, "I'll do it when I feel ready," or "I'm waiting for the right mood." But let me tell you something plain and simple. Waiting for the mood to strike is how average people stay average. You don't wait on moods to build a business. You don't wait on moods to build your body. And you certainly don't wait on moods to build your life. You decide, you commit, and you act, not because you feel like it, but because it's who you're becoming. Discipline doesn't knock on your door with a smile. It's forged. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. The first time you tell yourself, hey, do it now, it might feel awkward. You'll want to push it off. You'll hear your own voice say, oh, let's just do it tomorrow. Oh, but that's the moment that matters, the moment you choose power over comfort. The more you obey that small command, do it now, the more it strengthens, and soon it becomes automatic. Think about going to the gym. The first week is hard. You ache, you sweat, you don't enjoy it. But if you keep showing up, something changes. The pain becomes familiar. The movements become smoother. The energy starts flowing. That's the power of repetition. It's the same with action. You won't always enjoy starting, but starting becomes a habit. And habits, my friend, are stronger than moods. Now, here's a little warning. Your mind will always offer you an excuse. That's its job. It's trying to keep you comfortable. It will say things like, you've had a long day, or you deserve a break, or it's not the right time. And if you listen long enough, it will convince you to settle. But here's the key. Your life doesn't change when you feel ready. Your life changes the moment you act in spite of how you feel. Let me offer you a new standard. Don't ask, do I feel like it? Ask, what would the best version of me do right now? That one question can snap you out of delay and into purpose. Because guess what? The best version of you isn't waiting on motivation. That version has learned that motion creates motivation. Action first, feeling second. You want to feel like riding? Start riding. You want to feel like working out? Put on your shoes. The motion triggers the mood, not the other way around. Another trick is to start small. Don't wait until you have 4 hours to do a perfect job. Start with 5 minutes. Just 5. Most people procrastinate because they overestimate what the first step requires. But once you're in motion, even just a little momentum kicks in. And momentum is the enemy of procrastination. The mind may resist starting, but it rarely resists continuing. So give it that chance by beginning now. People often wait for a spark. But sparks don't show up for spectators. They show up for builders. You light the fire by striking the match. Action is that match. And each time you do the thing you don't feel like doing, you reinforce a truth within yourself. And move forward regardless. That's the mindset of champions. That's the edge. Not because they never hesitate, but because they've trained their muscle of execution to override hesitation. So the next time you feel the urge to delay, remember this. You're not trying to feel ready. You're training a muscle. You're building the most important habit in success, the habit of immediate movement. Don't trust the mood. Trust the mission. Don't wait for motivation. Become your own spark. And above all, remember, you don't have to feel it to do. You just have to do it to feel it. One of the main reasons people procrastinate is because the task in front of them just looks too big. It's like standing at the bottom of a mountain and thinking, there's no way I'm getting to the top of that. And so they stand there. They stall. They turn around. Not because they can't do it, but because they never learned how to break it down. The mountain wasn't the problem. The lack of a strategy was. You see, the mind doesn't like the unknown. When a task feels too large, too complex, or too vague, your brain hits the brakes. It tells you, let's wait until we understand more, or we'll do it once we have more time. But that's not wisdom. That's avoidance. The solution isn't to wait until it feels easier. The solution is to divide and conquer. Big goals shrink when they're chopped into small, clear steps. Think about building a house. You don't just say, let's build a house, and start tossing bricks around. No, you follow a blueprint. You lay the foundation. You frame the walls. You do it one phase at a time. It's the same with goals. Don't try to write a book. Write a page. Don't try to start a business. Register a name. Set up an email. Take a micro step. When you shrink the task, you shrink the resistance. Most people delay because they expect to climb the whole staircase in one leap. But life doesn't work that way. You take one step, then the next. If you try to take them all at once, you'll trip. And when you trip, you lose confidence. And when you lose confidence, you delay. It's a dangerous cycle. So instead of asking, how will I do this whole thing? Ask, what's the very next step I can take? And here's a helpful trick. Put your goals on paper, not just the end goal, but the steps. Map it out. Break it into daily, bite-sized actions. When you write things down, they stop spinning in your head. You don't need to remember everything. You just need to see the next step. This turns overwhelm into order. Suddenly, what felt impossible now has structure, and structure leads to movement. Let's say your goal is to get in shape. That's a great goal, but it's too big. What does it mean? What's step one? Maybe it's researching a gym. Maybe it's buying a pair of running shoes. Maybe it's walking 10 minutes a day. See, when the goal is a get in shape, your brain shuts down. When the goal is to walk 10 minutes today, your brain says, Your brain says, we can do that. That's the power of clarity through breakdown. Breaking things down also gives you little victories, and those little victories matter. They build momentum. Every time you check off a task, no matter how small, you build belief. You create progress, and progress creates motivation. People think they need motivation to make progress, but it's actually the other way around. Progress is what creates motivation, and small steps make progress possible. So the next time a goal feels heavy, don't ask for more willpower. Don't look for more energy. Look for a way to make it smaller. Simpler, more doable. Because when the goal is broken down, you don't feel broken down. You feel equipped, empowered. And that, right there, is the difference between someone who waits and someone who wins. It's hard to win the war against procrastination when you're surrounded by things that invite delay. And let's be honest, your environment speaks. The question is, what is it saying? Is it telling you to focus, or is it whispering distractions? Most people don't realize that their surroundings are either pulling them forward or pulling them under. It's not just about willpower, it's about setup. If your environment is working against you, no wonder you keep pushing things off. Success doesn't happen in clutter. Chaos breeds confusion. When you walk into a messy room, a cluttered desk, or a noisy space, your mind picks up the signals, even if you're not aware of it. Your brain registers the disorder, and it quietly says, not now. So what do? You grab your phone, you scroll a little, you snack. You promise yourself you'll get started after a break. That break becomes an hour. That hour becomes a day. And just like that, momentum is gone. Now compare that to a space that's been prepared for action. A clean desk, a dedicated notebook. To-do list in plain sight, no random tabs open, phone on silent, a bottle of water ready to go. That kind of environment doesn't just allow for work, it encourages it. It puts your brain in go mode. It's a trigger, it's a cue. Let me offer you a practical truth. Don't rely on memory, rely on systems. If you keep your goals in your head, they compete with everything else for attention. But if you build systems into your space, action becomes automatic. Use reminders, use checklists, use calendars that stare back at you and say, it's time. These tools aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of wisdom. They protect your energy for doing instead of deciding. And don't just think about your physical environment, consider your digital one too. If your phone is constantly lighting up with notifications, if your desktop is cluttered with files, if your browser is full of tempting bookmarks, you're creating mental noise. Every ping is a pull. Every click is a detour. If you want to stop procrastinating, you've got to simplify. Clean up your digital space so your attention isn't under constant attack. Here's another insight. Build environments that support the identity you're trying to create. If you want to be a writer, set up a writing space. If you want to be fit, keep your workout gear visible. If you want to grow financially, keep your financial goals on your wall, your desktop, your mirror. Your environment should be a reflection of your future, not your past. Because every time you step into that space, you're reminding yourself, this is who I'm becoming. People often underestimate how much their surroundings affect their discipline. They think they're just not motivated. But the truth is, they're trying to do high performance work in a low performance space. And that's like trying to sprint through mud. The problem isn't you, it's what's around you. Change your setup and suddenly, your habits start to shift. You're not pushing so hard anymore. Your environment is doing some of the pushing for you. So ask yourself, what around me needs to change? What in my space says I delay instead of a do it now? What small adjustments could I make today that would make action more natural, more automatic, more enjoyable? Because when you design your environment for action, you don't just clean your space, you clear your path. Left to ourselves, we often take the scenic route. We wander, we delay, we delay. We negotiate with our goals. We say, I'll get to it tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes next week. But introduce one small variable, accountability, and the game changes. Suddenly, someone's watching. someone's expecting. And that pressure, it's productive. It moves you. It puts weight behind your word. Because now it's not just about you, it's about your integrity. You see, we're far more likely to keep promises we make to others than the ones we make to ourselves. That's human nature. When it's just you in the mirror, it's easy to talk your way out of things. But when someone else is counting on you, when someone else is checking in, you raise your standards. You don't want to disappoint. You don't want to come up short. That little fear of falling behind. It can be just the nudge you need to stay on course. Accountability doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be as simple as texting a friend your top 3 goals for the day, or checking in every Friday to share your progress, or joining a mastermind group where everyone's moving towards something bigger. You don't need a drill sergeant, you just need someone who reminds you. You said you would. That's often all it takes to spark motion when motivation is low. There's a saying, what gets measured gets improved, but I'll add to it, what gets shared gets done. When your goals live in your head, they're fragile, they're flexible. You can bend them, postpone them, forget them, postpone them, forget. But when you speak them out loud, when you write them down and hand them to someone else, they become real. You give them structure, you give them roots. And things with roots tend to grow. Some people avoid accountability because it exposes their excuses. And that's the point. Quote, growth happens when you're a little uncomfortable, when you can't hide behind, I've been busy, or I wasn't feeling it. When you've got to look someone in the eye, or send that message and admit, I didn't follow through. It stings, but that sting is useful. That sting teaches. It makes you think twice before you let another day slide by. There's also a deeper layer to accountability. It builds character. When you consistently show up, not just for yourself, but for others, you start to become the kind of person who follows through. It shifts your identity. And once your identity changes, your habits follow. You stop procrastinating not because someone's watching, but because you're no longer that kind of person. You're someone who delivers, someone who acts, someone who finishes. Now here's a powerful idea. Don't just seek accountability. Create it. Set up systems that make it hard to back out. Pay for the program. Set deadlines with teammates. Announce your goal publicly. Raise the stakes. When the cost of inaction becomes visible, the urge to procrastinate weakens. You've made it real, and what's real tends to move faster than what's optional. So if you've been putting something off, ask yourself, who knows? Who have you told? Who's going to ask you next week if you did it? If the answer is a no one, then that task is on life support. Bring it to life. Invite accountability in, because when someone else is holding the stopwatch, you tend to run a little faster. You'll never beat procrastination with logic alone. Logic gives you the reasons, but emotion gives you the fuel. You can write out every benefit of finishing a project, list every reason you should go to the gym, or remind yourself how important that call is. But if it doesn't stir something inside, you'll still delay. Why? Because people don't move based on what they know. They move based on what they feel. Think about it. How many things do you know are good for you that you still avoid? You know exercise is good. You know reading is beneficial. You know that starting today is better than waiting for tomorrow. But knowledge alone isn't the problem. It's the lack of emotion attached to the action. If it doesn't mean something, if it doesn't move you, it won't make it to the top of your priority list. And if it doesn't reach the top, it gets put off again and again. Don't just say, I need to get this done. Ask yourself, what will it cost me if I don't? Dig deep. What happens if I delay this another week? Another month? What kind of future am I building if I keep putting this off? That pain, that urgency, that's what wakes up the part of you that takes action. And it's not just pain. It's also passion. It's vision. It's the excitement of who you could become if you just follow through. If you can visualize your future clearly enough and connect to the pride, the confidence, the freedom that completing this task could unlock, you won't need someone to push you. You'll be pulled by purpose, pulled by the emotional picture of what your life could be on the other side of action. One of the most practical things you can do to defeat procrastination is emotional stacking. That means stacking reasons, real emotional reasons, why this matters. Not generic fluffy motivation, but personal meaning. Ask, why must I do this? Then else. Then again, you're not looking for surface answers. You're looking for anchors. When the meaning is strong enough, hesitation disappears. This is why people move when life forces their hand. when rent is due, when the deadline is today, when the opportunity is closing. In those moments, emotion spikes, and so does action. But why wait for crisis to act? Why wait until you're cornered to move forward? You can generate that emotion right now. You can create urgency by feeling the cost of delay and visualizing the reward of discipline. One of the fastest ways to stir up emotion is to tie your task to someone you love. Who gets blessed if you follow through? Who suffers if you don't? Maybe your kids need a better example. Maybe your spouse deserves more presence, more security, more freedom. Maybe your parents sacrifice more than you've acknowledged, and you want to make that sacrifice count. When it stops being about you and starts being about them, your energy changes. So remember, motion doesn't come from cold logic, it comes from deep emotion. Don't just think your way into action. Feel your way into it. Stir up the reasons, reconnect with the cost, reignite the vision. Because when the feeling is strong enough, the excuses grow quiet. When the fire is lit inside, delay doesn't stand a chance. The hardest part of almost anything worth doing is simply starting, not finishing. Not understanding, starting. That moment when you stare at the screen, or the gym bag, or the blank page, and your mind starts listing every excuse in the book. That moment is the battleground, and if you can win those first 5 minutes, the rest usually takes care of itself. You don't need to conquer the whole mountain. You just need to take the first few steps. You see, procrastination doesn't need hours to destroy your momentum. It just needs 5 minutes of hesitation, 5 minutes of scrolling, 5 minutes of waiting for the right mood. That's how it starts. The delay multiplies. Minutes turn into hours, hours into days, and pretty soon the opportunity is behind you. But the flip side is just as true. 5 minutes of action can shift your entire direction. Just 5. The reason this works is because action creates clarity. The moment you start, even if it's awkward, even if it's messy, your mind kicks in, you stop overthinking and start doing. The fog begins to lift. You build traction, but if you wait for clarity before you act, you'll stay stuck. Clarity often follows motion, not the other way around. That's why those first 5 minutes are gold. They break the spell of delay. One of the best strategies you can use is the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself, I'm just going to do this for 5 minutes. That's it. Not the whole project, not the whole workout, just 5. And here's what happens. Once you begin, inertia takes over. Your brain shifts from resistance to rhythm. You stop counting the minutes and start flowing in the task. The start is hard, but staying in motion is easier once you're moving. Think about a cold engine on a winter morning. At first it groans, it resists, but once it warms up, it runs smooth. You're no different. The first push always takes the most energy, but that's where most people quit. Right at the beginning, they assume that discomfort means they're not ready, but discomfort is part of it's not a stop sign, it's a signal to push through. You don't need a 3-hour motivational seminar every morning. You don't need perfect energy or a flawless mindset. What you need is 5 focused minutes. Set a timer, eliminate distractions. Start the clock and just begin. The gym, the call, the writing. Whatever it is, your only job is to begin. Let momentum do the rest. The key to progress isn't willpower, it's activation. Sometimes we trick ourselves into thinking that if we don't feel inspired, we can't act, but inspiration is unreliable. Remember, procrastination is not a life sentence. It's a habit, and habits can be changed. The power to act is already inside you. It's waiting for you to claim it by making clear decisions, designing your environment, stirring your emotions, and celebrating each step forward. Start small, start now. Don't wait for the perfect moment because that moment may never come. Take the first 5 minutes, create your own accountability, and watch how momentum begins to carry you forward. You are shaped by what you do today, not tomorrow. So choose action over delay. Choose progress over perfection. Choose to honor your commitments to yourself and those who matter most. The battle against procrastination is one moment, one decision, one deliberate step at a time. And once you take that step, you'll see that the path to your goals isn't as distant as it once seemed. So go ahead, stop waiting, stop hesitating, and start moving. Your best self is ready and waiting on the other side of action.